Guys, I broke CornPop. So last Friday, Sandra took CornPop the C10 to work. It was like, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour drive each direction. The truck did great. She parked it right there where the taco's sitting. And after dinner, I moved it in. Everything was fine. But then the next time I went to take the truck out, the truck had no fuel pump. You couldn't hear the fuel pump. So I took this all apart. This is the relay board I built for this. This was all from scratch. This is a bus bar from a OBS Chevy, early 90s Chevy. So what I found was this is the terminal here that goes into the bottom of the fuel pump relay. And let's see. Oh, can't really see. I don't know if you can see. It's kind of burnt. So this is just a 12 gauge wire. So that fuel pump, the Aeromotive 1000, A1000 style fuel pump in tank, is going through this 30 amp relay. So Courtney used this on her truck. It's a 75 amp relay. So I'm going to mount a new fuel pump relay here and not use this one. That'll just be a spare. So I'll have a spare. And then I'm thinking about also running the ignition circuit through here, because I do have a lot. Most of the stuff just uses the ignition signal as, or it uses the ignition circuit as a signal wire, not necessarily a lot of amps. But it does carry a whole lot, and I really just don't want any problems with this while I'm going down the road. I keep pointing to the blue wire, because I wired this truck is all color coded. In case I'm on the side of the road, I could always try to figure things out. See, I don't have wiring schematics because this is all custom. So, you know, my gray wire is the fan. I have orange as my headlights. Blue is ignition. Green is fuel pump. Yellow is unused. I'm actually going to use the second fuel pump as the yellow wire. And then the purple's the starter. And you can see them all come out under here. So, anyway, I think I'm going to run the ignition off of this one and the fuel pump off of this one, and hopefully that's the problem and not something else. But this is kind of a dead giveaway that this isn't working, so that's it. Let me get tearing into this. Alright, so I ended up mounting my 75 amp relay right there next to the fuel cell. So the fuel pump's down here, primary pump's here, secondary pumps right here. So there's minimal wiring, so I want less of a voltage drop going to the fuel pump. The longer the wire, the more the voltage drop potentially after the wires start to get hot. There should be no issues now. Everything's oversized, including the wiring and the relay, so the fuel pump should get plenty of electricity. So I might even get more power out of the fuel pump because it's got all the electricity it needs. So the next step I want to do is to use the primary fuel tank that's located in the cab of the truck. So what I'm going to do is this AN fitting here is normally the vent. So this just goes to the top of the fuel cell. So as the fuel level lowers in the fuel cell, it should draw in fuel from the other. Here, let me jump out. So the primary fuel tank in this truck that was made in 1962 is right here. So as the fuel cell uses, or as the fuel cell consumes the fuel, it should draw in from the nipple at the bottom of the fuel tank. So it goes from the bottom of the primary fuel tank into the top of the fuel cell. Now, this fuel tank does not have a fuel level gauge, so what I'm going to do is hook up a temporary gauge to that, and I can't be opening the lid of the fuel cell to look in there, otherwise it'll ruin or it'll disturb the vacuum in the fuel tank that draws the fuel in. So my fuel level gauge in a fuel cell, it's full right now, 100% fuel level. So my plan is to just, I have 10 gallons of ethanol left, so I'm going to put my 10 gallons in this and drive around a bunch, and if the fuel level still reads 100% in the fuel cell, then I know the system's working. I'm hoping I don't need an electric transfer pump, because then I would basically need a fuel level sensor for the fuel cell and for the primary tank, and then I would have to basically have both gauges and then watch, and whenever the fuel cell gets low, I'll have to transfer it until the fuel cell is full. So I'm hoping it just does it automatically by vacuum. So I'm just kind of experimenting, and hopefully it all works. So I do have some fittings. I have this little inline fuel filter. Let me show you the nipple at the bottom of the main, the old fuel tank. I'll show you the nipple at the bottom of the old fuel tank real quick. Alright, so we're here under the C10. This is the underside of the fuel tank here. It's one single 3/8 hose barb that sits out the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and connect the fuel hose and a filter to that, and that's going to go to the top of the fuel tank where the vent is. Please don't leak. Alright, filling it up for the first time. Let's see if this works. I got my fuel hose all connected. I decided I'm gonna put some air pressure into this tank to lead out the whole hose and fuel filter housing. Let's see if it works.
Just another day. Another little problem solving.
It's just brakes.
It's just brakes, no big deal.
I had 0 brakes. 0.
Thank God the light went green. And we were going to a uphill. So it was fine. We just coasted up the hill and stopped right in front of someone's driveway. And it's why you always need to have the most important thing with you, a
What?
zip tie.
I thought you were going to say rusty floors so you could put your feet out. I didn't really get to explain what happened with the brakes. I had just come down a really long hill and stopped at a red light. I made a left when it went green, and then the next traffic light was red, and I got on the brakes, and there was nothing there. Like the pedal, like just as soon as I put my foot on it, it just sucked up to the floor, and there was nothing. So I ended up coasting through that light. Luckily it went green. There was one other car in front of me, and I don't have a horn. The shifter, it's got a really loose torque converter, so downshifting it does nothing, and the parking brake cable's broken. So it was just coasting, and there was nothing I could do about it. And luckily everything worked out okay, and we caught an uphill section, and I was able to just pop the truck and park as soon as it came to a stop. And yeah, so the bolt that holds the pedal to the brake booster fell out, and I put it back through, and where the nut is supposed to go, I just tightened a zip tie real tight on it, and I had like a 2-minute drive to the shop, which is where that video was taken, and I just found the right size nut. I put a lock nut on there, and I welded the nut on, so hopefully I don't have to take that thing apart. It should not fall apart on its own though. So that's what happened. I was kind of shaken up about it, so I didn't talk much, but close call. Alright, ready for some science? Is that
Yep.
recording?
Yes, it is.
So, here's my ghetto fuel gauge. It was reading 100%. It's booting 84%.
Oh, that's good. Since
So-
we did 20 miles today,
Yeah.
and we were hoping it, so it's less than 10 miles per
So
gallon.
it is slowly pulling in fuel from the main tank. 85%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think it's working. We'll just have to keep driving it.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't get under like 30% fuel level, it should be fine.
That's good.
Okay. Orange is headlights. Okay, so after I tested the fuel system, I ended up going to a car meet that was pretty big, and it went into the nighttime. And when I pulled out of the car meet, and as soon as I got out of the area where there were streetlights, I realized that there were no headlights. So at this point in the video, I had already checked the relays in the back, and I knew I needed a ground. Somewhere I was missing a ground for the headlight circuit. Alright, we're on the side of the road. The headlights aren't working. So this is the headlight ground right here. I don't know if you could see. The wire's all bubbling. And this is the same thing that happened to the fuel pump wire. It's just totally burnt in there. So I lost my ground. So I'm going to try to strip this wire back here on the side of the road and make myself a new headlight ground. Oh yeah, this terminal, I don't know if you can see, that one's a different color. It's because it's burnt. Alright, we'll get it. No worries. Got the truck home with a jumper wire last night, so that's it for this weekend. Thanks for watching. We got some jet boat stuff coming at you next week, so thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. We'll see you next week. Driveway Party.